Welcome, travelers, to episode 3 of Truth and Art. I am your guide, Connor Fowler, joined today by Antoni.
Hello, everyone.
And on today's episode, we'll be talking about Feng Shui, the inner workings of your mind expressed through your home. Antoni, do you want to start this episode?
Sure, that was a beautiful description, I think. The inner workings of your mind expressed through your home. Perfect. The reason we've chosen this topic is because recently I have renewed my annual, 1 month obsession with Feng Shui, as happened last year and the year before. Having said that, even if it was a 1 month obsession, I have noticed that it really, really helps kind of take a fresh look at what is and isn't working in your home. And earlier today, we were discussing, the idea that your home is an extension of your body, which you've all heard before, but an extension in the sense that if you understand that you are a spiritual being, an etheric being, a material being, then the home becomes the next layer of your body, the most externalized, the most material. And if that is the case, then the way your home looks and the way it feels to you literally reflects how you feel about yourself, how you work internally or don't work, where you keep all the junk and the clutter and so on.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I definitely agree with those sentiments. And, just to elaborate on that, on a more, let's say, physical sense, psychologists always talk about the sort of the home, even in, let's say, dream theory, right? If we look at maybe Freud and Jung. I'm not sure if Jung talked much about this, but Freud definitely, in your dreams, your home is a representation of your consciousness. And in working life, let's say, one of the things that are always told to me, specifically as well, about motivation and organization, it starts with cleaning your environment. It doesn't matter where you are, even if you're outside your home. You can't really focus with let's say, an disorganized working space and a messy surrounding. So it's a way to organize your thoughts physically, because oftentimes, even a lot of people who have this thing they call eidetic memory or photographic memory, thank you, is closely tied to how they remember things in space rather than memory, and often they use their house or a house to organize thoughts. And this is subconsciously, of course. It's not something they physically do, although I'm sure they would do something similar in the physical.
Yeah, that's interesting. As you say, I excuse me, I thought I was going to cough. This idea of looking at how to feng shui your house, or Vastu Shastra is the Vedic version. It makes such a difference once you understand that your home really is a part of your body or a part of you. It's the most material, static part of you. And when we were looking at all the ways of, measuring the house and the directions, Feng Shui, at its core, talks about the flow of energy through your home. And when you look at it, especially connected to something like astrology, then it really, really makes sense. It's almost like the astrology for your house.
Yes. Before we get deeply into, this directions that you picked up on before, could you describe to everyone what Feng Shui is and how it works in people's lives?
Based just on my own experience and knowledge,
I
certainly, it's something I'm just learning, and I'm learning it purely for myself. But what it is a way of making sense of the blockages you have inside yourself as they are reflected in your home. And it's a way of working with the cosmic reality. And I don't mean that in any nebulous way. I mean it literally, as in working with the forces, the unseen forces at play in the cosmos, and how they affect the physical body as it is manifest in your home. Now that sounds complicated the way I've said it, but basically
I think you did a good
it's
job
the
there.
flow. It's looking at the flow of life, good and bad, through your home.
Yeah, we've both been sort of going on this journey of, as I said, feng shuiing the house, you know, and I think it's quite exploratory. And this is a reason for the podcast today was to sort of further elaborate to ourselves and everyone else who's confused out there about what these kind of concepts mean and how they work in practice. And I think, for sure, one of the main things in feng shui is energy, or as they refer to it as qi.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and even if you're in meditation or thinking about yourself, thinking to yourself, you do feel these certain, let's say, indicators touching different parts of your body.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's your mind most of the time, because we are quite highly intellectual beings at the moment. But all of that is projected and represented in what you choose to see.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and in the home, the qi is just the same qi that flows through your body.
Yeah, of course.
And organize it in a way that, let's say, unlocks part of your home the same way you can unlock parts of your body. I mean, athletes will practice running or lifting weights so that they can become better at something. But if they don't keep it in balance with the rest of their body, they might lack in certain areas,
beautiful.
right? So let's say you're a weightlifter, but you can't run.
Yeah.
You don't want a home that does that as well.
Yeah.
Where you can sleep well, but you don't eat well.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so beautifully put and very clearly put. And that's exactly it. The thing I notice every time I've been through this process, and each time I do it, I get better at it. And we will be doing a podcast that's a series podcast that talks through the steps as we've done it, because I've found, it's the process seems to be really difficult.
Mm-hmm.
But actually, like so many processes, if you break them down into small enough steps, you can achieve it. It's just getting the steps down to something that makes sense. But anyway, the thing about this process is really highlighting for me, so far it's been highlighting areas where I've felt stuck. But I thought that stuckness was purely psychological, purely, and I'll give a very clear example. Excuse me, in our bedroom, we moved the bed about a month ago, and I couldn't sleep well, and yet you could sleep very well.
Mm-hmm.
But it was bothering me. It wasn't that I was sleeping deeply, but waking up feeling really drained. And I thought, oh, it's just me. There's something wrong with my health, or there's something wrong. Maybe I'm eating the wrong things, whatever. But once I looked at the feng shui, I thought that perhaps that could help, just moving the bed a bit. So it's been a bit of a journey trying to find the right spot that suits both of us. But last night we slept with the bed in a completely new kind of orientation. In a new orientation, sort of, because we just moved the bed around.
A mirroring of an old.
Yeah. Basically, it was the reverse version of the position where I couldn't sleep. So the bed head, which is metal, and in feng shui, the 5 elements really play a big role, and those elements are metal, wood, water, earth, and fire. Is that right?
I think so.
I'm trying to remember. Metal, wood, earth.
Metal, wood, earth. It's not air, definitely not air.
It's not air. So air is replaced by metal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure it's fire.
Must be.
Anyway, in the podcast for the series, we'll get it right. Yeah, I said water. Anyway, we're getting lost here. But the point being that the bed head is made of metal. And before it was on the opposite orientation, turned it around, and last night we both slept deeply, but we both feel so much happier and more cozy and intimate and softer and less stressed with the bed position the way it is.
Yeah. So, and for feng shui, I think one of the again, we're not probably I assume not going to get into the details of feng shui, but we'll do that in a separate podcast if you guys are interested, of course. But the spirit of feng shui, let's say, is what we're sort of talking about now, is definitely a great meditative practice for seeing how the physical affects your world. your inner world, let's say. So you were saying before about, rearranging the bed. It's almost like the Ayurvedic medicine that they had have in India, rather. I remember when I was quite young, I believe I was diagnosed with something similar to streptococcus, and so it was a bad throat infection. And then my mom got me onto Ayurvedic medicine, and I wasn't. It's not like as a kid you don't really understand the difference between prescription medicine and this sort of alternative medicine, as they call it. But later on, as I was seeing in the future, as I grew up, rather, that there was a lot of sort of stigma attached to these kind of things, and I think we've gotten to a point where we break through that a bit as a society, and kind of understand that psychological blockages are only what we reflect into the material world, and that's how it sort of manifests in the home.
Interesting.
And
but how
back to sorry, I always relate this to the Ayurveda medicine, was that obviously my naivety, if you will, caused me to get better from the Ayurveda, because I didn't have a preconceived notion.
I see. You didn't block
as to how.
Its
yeah,
working.
I didn't block its working,
yeah.
in a sense, because even if you look at all the scientific outlay of how maybe a prescription drug works, which is already dodgy, because sometimes they say that it only cures 1 in 1,000 people, and it's good enough for it to be shipped out into pharmaceuticals, and bam, there you go, we're selling millions of prescription drugs. So yeah, back to the naivety, if you will. It's a bit of an ignorance and a joy, a childlike joy for life, where your working of your mind is stronger than what the environment brings to you. And I think that's really what, sorry, just to wrap all that up, that's really what I think the main takeaway should be from the benefits of Feng Shui.
That's interesting. From what I understand you're saying, I think what you're saying is by keeping your mind open and receptive, you can gain the benefits.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. It's like, the shifting of the bed definitely helped, because in the morning I could say with complete honesty that I had a good night's sleep, and what happened? I mean, only the bed turned, so
it's interesting because, our whole channel, I suppose our whole life actually is predicated on the knowledge that the spiritual, the unseen, the multi-dimensional life is our life. It's not just, this atheistic materialism we've been encouraged to believe in. So with that as a basis, my main interest in the Feng Shui was and is the fact that it's practiced by 2 very, very ancient cultures, the Chinese and the Indian, and obviously the what we call the Indian culture is extremely, extremely ancient. And so I'm someone who tends to put a lot of store in things that have lasted 5,000 years or so
or
on.
More,
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So my idea in applying it is, does it bring me any benefit? And I'm not really invested in converting or convincing anyone who thinks it's rubbish, because I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in, does it improve my life? Yes, I have quite a skeptical mind, and a very analytical mind. So I do tend to kind of measure any changes, and also because I'm very sensitive to those changes.
Yes.
But if I can see even if I can see a 1% difference, it's worth it to me. But when I can see a difference in not only how I sleep, but the way we relate to each other when we wake up, how I start the day, if turning my bed around a specific direction and having it in a specific corner of a room gives me a 20, 30, 50% improvement, I'll take that any day of the week, right?
Yeah.
And on top of that, I think
it
gives you a fresh experience of your home, which then allows parts of you to come out that maybe you haven't experienced before.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think we're not, as you were saying before, nobody's trying to convert anyone. I think most of the people will be listening to this already understand to a certain degree what we're talking about. So Feng Shui, guys, seriously, I would recommend trying it out. Just have a look up on the internet, Google, all that good stuff.
But I would really recommend, if you are wondering, because I don't think we've thought about what to call this podcast, but what's in my mind is Feng Shui, does it work? Is it worth doing? Because they're two separate questions, right? Because the is it worth doing part, it does involve a lot of cleaning, moving stuff around, binning things.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the thing about improvement. Improvement takes work. It's not an easy fix, guys. And the thing is,
but wait a minute. I'd like to say it is an easy fix.
Well,
because,
okay.
Because in a way,
I think I tend to.
Wait a sec. But let me put it this way: if you're not sleeping well, people think the easy fix is go to the doctor and get a drug. But to me, that's not easy compared to just moving your furniture around.
No, absolutely. But what I meant by that is internal improvement takes work, and that's not the easy fix. Shifting the bed is only a key to allow you to shift your perspective. It's not. You still have to open that door. The tokens of that are given to you.
See, I think that's where we differ, though. I mean, I absolutely agree with what you've said, but my experimentation with the Feng Shui is about, does it practically, basically the question for me is, if I went in and Feng Shui'd, if one could use that as a verb, it sounds horrible, but if I went into someone's house or bedroom, and didn't tell them what I was doing, and I did it, would they experience a benefit without knowing? This is what I mean about my skeptical and analytical approach.
Yes.
And I, from what I can see so far, I believe the answer to be yes. Now, I'm looking forward to having a go at something at somebody's house or someone's room or something like that. But so far, I think the answer is yes. That, and that's why I'm saying it's not purely psychological. It is just as much to do with, you don't know there's some kind of like high-powered electricity cable that runs under your house, but it generates a subsonic hum that irritates you in some way. Now that you can prove that. That's a scientific something. Engineers come in and they measure the noise and they can say, yes, this affects your brain's X waves.
But they don't have the chi detector, do they?
No, but my point is that it can be all of those things. It can be just because we don't have instruments to measure it.
Just because we do. I mean, they're inside us.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. It is us.
We see those. We are those instruments.
We do detect it.
We're receivers. We're transmitters. All of that. I mean,
and our pets. The cats. We have 2 cats, and I noticed last night that the way they came to sleep in the room was really different. And because they hadn't done that before, when the bed and we have a sofa also, when the bed and the sofa were in different positions in the room, they never simultaneously were in there on, one on each piece of furniture. Yet last night there was this peaceful kind of sharing. Yes. So I don't know, we'll keep an eye on that also.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah, the cats for sure.
But I think in terms of, does it work? Yes, it works. Is it worth doing? Well, it depends on whether you want to save your relationship or improve your health or have a better experience of work from home.
Yeah, and all those things are covered in Feng Shui in the series as well. If you guys want, we'll let us know about a Feng Shui dedicated serial podcast. And we'll look into that more deeply and tell you all about the red 7-star violence.
Oh yes.
2 black star or something like that. What is it?
3 killings. The
3 killings.
Sha.
The Sha. The negative energy as they call it. It's known as the Sha. And for all of you who've played World of Warcraft at one point, you know exactly during what the Shas are from Mists of Pandaria. But anyway, guys, thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in. It's been amazing talking about Feng Shui with everyone. Antoni, you have any closing words?
I really would just encourage anyone who wants to make a fresh start or an improvement in their life in any area to consider moving your furniture around, and we'll put together some hopefully simple instructions or with some maybe links to the things that we found useful or books
Yeah,
or objects.
yeah.
But good luck.
Yeah, good luck. And again, all links you can find in the description of anything what we talk about. Stuff we find useful. And thanks again. See you guys in the next episode.